Hey everybody, it's Triple L coming in to do a One Piece roundup video talking about the chapters of One Piece that I missed. I keep telling myself, oh, I'll do it this week, and then it ends up 5 weeks later, and here we are. Anyway, these have been the battle chapters, starting with Jinbei's battle, going all the way till now. I'll give you my quick thoughts overall on just the battle chapters. So, firstly, if you watched the previous video weeks and weeks ago, you know that I'm waiting for the characters to all get their battles and all look good and all that kind of stuff. Well, ultimately, I think we got that, and I'm very happy. Right now, what One Piece is doing is pretty much this is the final run up. Once Luffy gets back up there, it's going to be the final fight with Kaido. That's why you have everyone cleaning up the battles now. This is it. We're in the final stretch of Kaido's arc here. Again, once Luffy gets to Kaido, that's the final fight. Will there be a new 9 scabbards? Maybe. I don't know. And the birds are also having a great day here. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm very happy to see the final roundup. Now, each fight that we got so far, as of chapter 1023, we are dealing with Zoro and Sanji, which I thought was really interesting. But before that, we had the Jinbei fight, we had the Frankie fight, and the Robin plus Brook fight versus Black Maria. I'm not going to count Nami and Usopp because we kind of already beat them into the ground. We already know about those. But with those 3 fights, I think of those 3, the lamest one was probably Frankie's fight. Frankie's fight doesn't really do anything new to reinvent the wheel, and it was pretty silly. Sasaki just has... He's pretty much like Buffalo from Doflamingo's family, just dinosaur. So that wasn't all that impressive. The thing is, though, Frankie's already gotten so many good fights in New World. He doesn't really need another good fight. But his was definitely lacking just because Frankie didn't show off any kind of new thing. He just showed off that he's capable. But again, when it comes to Frankie, he's one of the known quantities on the crew. Him being able to take out Sasaki, who was pretty much captain level in New World, that was pretty good for me. But he is probably the most underwhelming fight. Now, when it comes to Jinbei, Jinbei has a much more plot relevant fight. When I look at Jinbei, this seems to me like Oda, let's hurry up the story type tactics. It's like when Oda said that Greenbit was originally supposed to be its own island and he tacked it on to Doflamingo's island. That's why you have the story of Mont Blanc kind of just grafted onto Doflamingo. He made it work. Similarly, Oda initially wanted a pure fire island and a pure ice island, and then he just made Punk Hazard just get the ideas out there. So when it comes to this, I feel like Sasaki is, oh, sorry, not Sasaki, Who's Who is just kind of another, we gotta hurry up the story tactic. If you notice, when it comes to Jinbei's fight so far is the only one that has in general world implications, because we find out about the sun god Nika, I believe the name was, and one thing you could see that that Oda was trying also to incorporate more of Jinbei's character into the fight, so that's why you kind of might have the casual racism coming from Who's Who. But overall, Jinbei's fight serves more for the overall story than it is like Robin's fight. Robin's fight is specifically more about her, whereas Jinbei's fight, again, about the story and about Luffy's origins. So when it comes to how Oda brought Who's Who into the story and integrated him and made him relevant to Luffy's story, it was interesting. And ultimately, when I'm looking at this sun god and the whole situation that this person is being talked about and people are being disappeared because of it, ultimately I'm just thinking at this point that might as well be Joy Boy. And when it comes to the whole thing with the Gum Gum Fruit getting Who's Who in jail, what do I even say, man? It just feels to me like maybe the Tenryubito want to make sure they prevent any kind of resurgence of Joy Boy, and maybe Joy Boy had the Gum Gum Fruit. Maybe that's why he was so joyous. I know that the Gum Gum Fruit and the power, Oda wanted to do it because he wanted to have a cool and funny character, and Luffy is very funny with his powers. Maybe that's how Joy Boy brings joy. But yeah, ultimately it's interesting, and it's another one of those conspiracy details. But when it comes to Jinbei's fight, his fight is more about throwing in that very critical detail and then moving on. And Jinbei doesn't really show us any new things. He just kind of shows us that, hey, he's Jinbei. He can take out a lot of people. Was really impressive overall, though. That's why it's my second ranked fight of the 3. Now, when it comes to Robin and Brook, I think this is hands down the best fight that we've gotten. Robin finally comes in and she gives us a really worthwhile performance post Fishman Island. I didn't think her performance versus Diamante was that great because she ultimately had to take a backseat to allow Kiros to take on Diamante. But when you look at this fight, it's cool. It's really cool. What Robin was doing, really neat. The fight with Black Maria was also some pretty dynamic stuff because Black Maria has a weird power set in general. And also the collaboration between her and Brooke. You know, at first I was kind of sad that Brooke wasn't getting like a headliner type fight. But when you look at it, at the end of the day, Brooke not only was able to thwart the illusions using a very, very sad anecdote or a sad note from his life. Not only was he able to thwart illusions, not only was he able to put out fires, not only was he able to severely weaken Black Maria by taking out her weapon, not only was he able to make giant walls of ice, of all things, but he was also able to take down all of her crew in one go, and he took down a numbers too. So when you're looking at it, like honestly for Brooke, he did a lot. He did a lot. Like he didn't get a headliner type fight, and you know, I kind of hope he does in the future. But, you know, if the author wants to say, hey, Brooke is honestly, he's going to be hard crowd control, and he's also going to be a really good elite moot killer, then sure, you know what, I will be okay sacrificing Brooke not having any kind of real headline fights if he continues doing severe damage like this. You know, Brooke is also one of the people that injured Big Mom's soul stuff, right? So he's got really interesting accolades, but if Oda wants him to be just a strict support and taking out the mooks, that's fine too. Brooke ultimately got a really good thing, and his banter with Robin was really worthwhile. Now, on Robin's side, you have another one of those effects of the time skip being that we don't know what these people did in their time skip. And then you have Robin just telling us, well, she knows Fishman Karate. And there was like a small reference to it earlier in post time skip. Overall, I think it's cool. I really wish we knew everything that was in these people's back pocket now, but we don't. Now, Robin also creates Demonio, and that one is just, it's one of those things you have to ask, like, why though? Like, why make the wings? Do the wings add something to you, Robin? Why make the little, like, fangs? Do those add something to you, Robin? It's just like with Millefleur, or like with Robin's fruit. We know that she has upper limits. We know that the more she creates, the harder it gets for her to maintain it. Like, we know this is like the gist of how her power works. So when you see her making the extra body parts, it's like, I don't know. Why are you doing this, Robin? Why are you like putting extra effort in things that ultimately just make you a bigger target? It's kind of interesting, but it looks cool, right? So it's one of those issues of rule of cool. Better not complain about it. Now, Robin's Demonia was also dark, so it's hard to tell whether or not she has Haki or not. It'd be cool if she did, but again, it's really hard to tell. Ultimately, Robin's beatdown of Maria was worthwhile. I think it was also cool to see a very violent fight. It's been a while since we've gotten like a supremely violent fight between the female characters. Like, I know one of the more violent fights was all the way back in Alabasta when Nami was taking the hits from that needle girl. But good for the girls taking the hits, and you know, they also had the little rhetoric within there. So ultimately, I was happy for it. Black Maria was kind of flat at the end of the day. She just talked about how she's more worthwhile than Robin, and you know, playing that Robin they don't really need any other of her limbs or whatever. Yeah, Black Maria was just painting herself. I did find it funny that Black Maria was wearing a chest band. I don't know what to call that. The bandages around her chest. That's just censorship, because I do wonder how the logistics of her putting that on worked out. That was legitimately kind of funny that we went through this whole thing of showing off her back, and then, oh no, better tie her up. Yeah, style over substance. And then, wait, is there anything else to say about Robin? No, Robin was pretty cool. Overall, pretty cool. The fact that she knows Fishman Karate is pretty cool. We move on to Zoro and Sanji, and I think in chapter 1022 we didn't really get a lot. That was like a transition chapter. But overall with Zoro and Sanji, I'm excited. I'm extremely excited. I've already seen the spoilers for 1024, and it looks like it's going to be like another weird transition. Just from what I've seen so far, if they're real, it looks like we're not going to follow Zoro and Sanji right now, which is upsetting. But it's also because we have to finish up things with the other fights before Luffy shows up on adult Momo, who most likely looks like his mother. I mean, it would be cool if he looks like Odin, but I think he's going to look more like his mother. Anyway, moving on. Back to this. When it comes to Zoro and Sanji, I think it's really interesting the things that are going on, because they're making a big deal of King's race, a race of gods. Now, as far as I'm concerned, King is just another variety of Skypian. But it's interesting to see how people are talking about people who make fire, and they're bringing up the issues with Sanji's fire, and they're also making notes about how Zoro kind of looks like Shimotsuki. I forget his name, but he kind of looks like the guy, the leader of Ringo, which I assume is just familial relationships. We know a good portion of the Wano people went to the East Blue and they founded the village or the island that Zoro lived on. So I'm not surprised if he is connected to all these people. I like, at this point, I don't really care about this plot angle. But this seems to be an issue where they're bringing up the nature of these people's powers. Like, they brought up the nature of Zoro's Asura, and now it looks like the Applejack Bay's nature is being questioned. Because, again, Queen is finally there and asking the question, like, how are you lighting yourself on fire? And Sanji gives us that wonderful answer, my passion burns hotter. Yeah. Overall, when it comes to Zoro and Sanji, I'm excited. It's guaranteed they're going to get good fleshed out fights to the same level of Robin and Frankie at the very least. And when I'm looking at this, of the two, I'm very curious about Sanji, because Sanji's saying that he's noticing that his body feels weird after wearing the suit. Now, what I'm wondering, is the suit triggering some kind of latent response in Sanji? And is Sanji's body about to get some kind of power up? Or is he having a debuff similar to Zoro? Mind you, I don't think Zoro should be having a debuff right now. Because I'm looking at it right now, and Miyagi's like, he's worried about what happens later after the medicine has run its course, because Zoro's going to have that extreme pain. So apologies if I'm not remembering this correctly, because I read the chapters before I started the video, but now I've forgotten a few little details. Anyway, if Zoro is at 100% right now and running on adrenaline, I really do hope that Sanji's about to walk into another power-up to keep up with Zoro. I think that would be really neat. And with the Queen bringing up the fact that, you know, the Germa or cyborgs and all that, I feel like some kind of latent thing might wake up in Sanji now that the raid suit is stressing his body. In 1023, we also have the fights with Nekomamushi and Dogstorm, Inugarashi, whatever their names are. I'm interested in those as well, but not that much. It'd be cool to see Jack go down. And Perospero he's not a big deal, so I think Nekomamushi's going to have an easy time as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, overall, I think these have been pretty cool chapters. It looks like we might be doing Zoro Origins, and it looks like we might be doing Sanji Power Up, which I'm excited for. I want to see it. And it looks like we might be drawing more issue about King and his fire making ability. What were they called again? A Lunarian, right? A Lunarian. Well, that's even funny, right? You look at Lunarian right now. Where's Enel? He's on the moon, and we know that there's records of some kind of thing up there. Yeah, no. Ultimately, I'm interested to see the issues with Sanji's fire and whatever is going on with King, and then I guess Zoro's origins. That'll be cool too. Let me think. Is there anything else worth saying here for these chapters? It'd be cool if someone flat out says that Sanji's firepower is a manifestation of color of armament, or maybe even Conqueror's Haki. That'd be pretty worthwhile if they come out and just say that, because then it's like, alright, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that's what we're doing, because it just does go to say that a lot of people in Luffy's crew had powers ahead of him, which is an important thing to keep in mind. And then, of course, Momo's going back up to Kaido, which is pretty much Momo. This is the fulfillment of Momo wanting to be able to be helpful. And now we pretty much have it here. Momo as a dragon looks pretty cool. I do wonder about his control, but hopefully he has good control here. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. I gotta run. But I hope you enjoyed that quick walkthrough. And yeah, till next time. I hope you have a great day and stay safe.